All right, now I'm going to get started. Okay, so again, happy Saturday. Hope you are enjoying your weekend. I'm going to start just by saying, oh, let me share my screen, that we do have kind of a pretty volatile week coming up. Quite not really happy about what I saw on the economic charts, but it is what it is. So, first things first, on Tuesday, we have CPI at 8:30, and then the Feds are outside all week long. There's two speeches on that day, two Fed speeches, and then Wednesday, I don't think there are any Fed speeches. No, Wednesday will be kind of okay, but then Thursday we have PPI, and then there are more Fed speeches like all afternoon, starting at 8:45, and then again starting at 1:30 and like lasting through the afternoon. And then Friday is another speech at 8:30. Fed Barkin is speaking. So it's going to be a pretty volatile week next week. It kind of makes sense as far as how the charts have been looking the last couple of days, mostly because we have, I think things are waiting for next week's data. So even though we've had this boom now, we're having our corrective activity, and it's now probably kind of deciding where it's going to go from there. So I wanted to start with our regular stuff. First thing I'm going to point out is that VIX has bounced from here. You see that, we were talking about VIX being on this downtrend, but now it is green on the month. So that's something we want to be aware of, because if it continues, then the market may correct even more. And so basically, you're also going to be seeing this kind of look on a lot of these charts where they're kind of turning red for the month, or they are pulling back. Like you see this large wick on the NASDAQ is kind of forming a shooter. But just it's key to note, I was talking last week about us being at exhaustion risk, and basically that's what happened. It did this two up on a month, it hit its target, and now it's come back in. So the market is probably waiting to decide what it's going to do from here. So looking at them on the weekly, um, again, Dow, I mean, the VIX has did a two up, but it hit its target. So, unless it continues to move up, it's still in this downtrend that we have. So, this could actually be its rejection and could two down next week. We're not quite sure. But we do have a lot of inside weeks, even though they're red. We have a lot of inside weeks. We know they can go inside, can go either way. So, just kind of have to see what it does. I think that it's important to note, and I spoke about this on the show, is to kind of watch the Dow, because the Dow has been above its 200 for a while. We've been talking about that. But it's also been kind of sideways. So basically, except for this drop here, it's been in this same range right here. And so basically, we're looking to see, is it going to come back down to visit this 200, or, is it going to bust out of this range and move forward? So that's kind of how that's looking. The NASDAQ is above its 200 now, but it's come back down and it's basically testing it. So now we're looking to see if this is going to provide any type of support for a move back into the bullish trend, or if it's going to fail, and uh, then that's it. A lot of these are looking like heads on the day, where this could be the potential short-term top for more correction. And I mentioned that last week as well, but we'll see that a little bit more when we look at SPY on a bigger chart. But then notice also on the daily that the VIX has a shooter. So if this shooter goes in force, then we can at least expect Monday to be somewhat green, because the VIX will be pulling back. And it moved up. So we're seeing it last week, and we're saying it's in this downtrend. It rejects here each time it's been in this downtrend. So, and that's where it's at again. So just looking to see if this rejects and comes down, we can possibly be green Monday. If it decides to break out, we might, the VIX might actually break out of this little short-term downtrend it's in. So key to watch that and see what it's doing to see, where it's going to go. And then looking at our other things on the month. So it's kind of the same thing as like I was saying with the NASDAQ. A lot of things have did their two up on the month and they hit magnitude. So, a lot of them actually TTO'd some of these over here and then they pulled back in. So you're seeing this a lot of places on the month where you now have long wicks to the upside because a lot of things have pulled back in. So it's just key to note to see if it's, it's going to correct enough and continue back, or are we going to come really come down. So none of these are in the outside month territory yet. But another thing that you're going to notice is that a lot of these have pivot machine guns, possible pivot machine guns, let me say, on the week. So that's going to be kind of our theme for today, is the PMG. And will the PMG play out? So it's a weekly PMG. So this is I guess a learning opportunity to understand kind of what it is. And the PMG in the strat world is when you have 5 consecutive lows or highs, however you want to look at it, but it's 5, and they each have to be, higher than the other or lower than the other. And the objective is, if it comes back down, it will take out all of these stops. So a PMG just means that this will just pivot machine gun down. It does not always do that. It may actually stair step down. But it's just something you want to notice, is that, it went straight up. For the exception of here, once it broke here for a week straight, it went straight up. So, stocks don't always go straight up. They need to correct. Even if it doesn't take out all these targets, it may come back down and take out a couple. So it's something that you do want to notice. Apple basically ran for its earnings. It had its earnings. Earnings was bad. And now you have this consolidation. And so we're going to see, are we going to start moving down and take out these targets? Or was this enough correction for the bulls to step back in and continue back to the trend? So it's really going to need to break that 157.50 area. That's where it rejected from last week for it to continue to the upside. So you'll see Microsoft. I don't know if these are equal lows. Let me see. No, this may be barely a PMG, but again, the same theme. You just have all these greens. So we're going to look to see if it takes these out. Just keeping in mind, that these are all above their 200s on the day. So it's just something that you will notice. And if it does happen, we definitely want to take advantage of. So because you see this on Apple and Microsoft, of course, you see it on the Qs, just straight up. And so we're looking to see, will it take these out? Kind of like it did here. It had 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, red weeks straight. So our data next week could actually do that. Because we've pushed a lot, if the data comes in bad and the market doesn't like it, it could push it down. Now, granted, the last few data points, the market hasn't cared and it's been going straight up. So it could go either direction, but I think it's at a critical point right now. So looking at them on the 200 on the day, don't really have to say a whole lot here because we've been watching them to see if they would break above. They did. So far they're holding. Apple has this gap here on the day that I'm still eyeing, seeing if it's going to fill this right around this 147 area. So if you see that right here, this 150 was a strong support for the most part. So if it does continue, then we can get to 148 and then possibly try to fill this gap here. And then this is would kind of still be this, see this inverted head and shoulders? That's the head. So this whole area could be the shoulder area still. On a larger time frame, this could be the shoulder if it does want to continue to the upside. Consequently, that can be a head, and the shoulder can be made over here if it decides to drop for that PMG. And a lot of them look just like this. So, I'll show you that on SPY in just a second, but you can see the kind of the same thing here on Microsoft. You have the larger head, what could be a shoulder. Somewhat, there's no gap here. Oh yeah, there's a small gap. Right there. So 258.36 is the gap fill for Microsoft, so that can pull that down. There's no gap here, but key to note that if that comes down, this may break the 200 for the Qs. So ended with a doji on the day, so that's not really nobody in control, but a lot of them, like I said, the going thing is either inside week that's red or long shooter. Microsoft had a really good week. It definitely boomed, took out all these folks over here. So, yeah, interesting to see what that's going to do. And so looking at SPY so far on the month, it boomed out so quickly that it took out these two targets. Didn't have enough gas to take out this 431 or the gap that's to the upside that we'll see on the daily. But yeah, it's come in. We got a long wick to the upside. It had triggered the quarter, but it's now right back in. So if it does continue, then it would have to trigger the quarter again above that 410 area for it to continue to the upside. But basically, yeah, we got this sideways action. We kind of said that last week on the Stratapalooza, that because we had moved so much, we really expected this week to be kind of an inside week. So it's kind of good because, that can give us our direction. Are the bears going to take control, or are the bulls going to step back in and try to push it back to the upside? So interesting to see what happens here. We see some EMAs are crossing this 200. So want to see if the bulls can hold. Time frame continuity is kind of in conflict because the week was red, but the month and quarter is green, and the month is like, should we open the month at 405? So 405 would turn our month red, and then of course the quarter, that's way down here, 385. But those are things you want to keep in mind. So 405 would turn the month red. We're going to uncouple on Tuesday, so you can keep an eye on that. As long as, if we do 212 down and we uncouple on Tuesday and we, break that 405, the month is going to be red, and it will turn almost all the time frames red except for the quarter. So keep that in mind. Consequently, you could just 212 up, back into full time frame green continuity. So we just kind of have to see what happens this week. I don't necessarily expect that we'll have another inside week. SPY doesn't usually like double inside week. Usually it does break in one direction or the other. So we just kind of have to see what's going to happen. And so looking at it on the day, again, it's the similar thing. Now this inverted head and shoulders that I've been showing y'all, that was on Apple and Microsoft, is kind of crooked. You see that? So like it's not perfect because like this was the inverted head and shoulders that led to this, but this larger one could still be a shoulder area for it to still go. So just so you know that it can do that. It did TTO these folks and has not come back up here. So again, like I said last week, this could be a new head, meaning a top. It's funny because Stratolorian mentioned on the weekend shift that these are head and shoulders are like broadening formations, and they basically are. If you look at this one that came up here, Boom. So it hit the top of that broadening formation. I don't have my drawings up here because it's way too many lines on SPY, and I don't want to confuse y'all. Yeah, so this would be the head, and then the shoulder area is this area right here. So it can even be up to here. This would kind of be the entire shoulder area, just because what the head is just popping above the shoulder. So this shoulder can be all the way from about 410 to about 392. Actually more like, I would consider, because it's crooked, I would consider more the 200. So if it breaks the 200, I think that's a no-go for the bulls to step back in and take control. So just kind of have to see what happens. Or if it does that shoulder, you can do this shoulder here and then drop for that PMG. So that 405 area is exactly where it bounced at, or where the bulls stepped in, which is that monthly open. So that's really a key area, I think, to watch for now, is that 405, because that actually will turn the month red. And then we can see if it, will come down to this 200. Will it hold? Ideally, it could probably come down here and do what it did, like right here. So it might do that, bounce around there, make the shoulder, and then fall. That would be the head and shoulders. Or the inverse is, like I said, it could even bounce from here, because we saw that on the day for VIX, that we saw that shooter. So this could mean that SPY could be green on Monday, because we have this hammer right here and we have a 3-2. So we could do a 3-2-2 up, and then we can possibly do something like a 2 up and even H, or 2 up. And so basically it's like drawing that way or that way. I'm not good at drawing, y'all. I'll get better with that. All right, and the small caps. So similar, we come in for the month. This one didn't quite reach this target here, so of course that would be the next target to the upside, 202, if it can continue. Otherwise, it looks like it's coming back in on the month, but it's back into a chop area right here. Like for months, it was kind of stuck in this area, so it looks like it's coming right back down into it. And so inside week, and then similar with the PMG. Yeah, all of those to take out if it decides to do a move like this. Look at the last time it did that. It took them out. Now it did kind of like base dropped versus doing a straight down like this. But that's the whole purpose of pointing these out, is because it could do this. And also keep in mind that these take weeks, because we're on the weekly. So I'm saying that, it went straight up for weeks, it went straight down for weeks, but it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 before it got to its bottom, versus the 5 going up. So these would be swings. These would be things that you would need to give time for it to do, because it may do something like this where it bases first before it continues down. So you want to be careful of that. Could also do this. But yeah, be aware of that. So this is what, and you know what? Hold on, let me go back real quick, y'all. I got to tell y'all that there's a new 2-week starting as well. So I like to point that out, because some of these actually that I have to show y'all are 2-week setups. But with this long wick, if it does turn and come down, 400, which is the 200 on the daily, is that support. If it breaks that, then you got a 2-week setup for SPY to the downside, at least to this 387, probably 390, because 390 was a strong support there. So and then I'm not gonna go back with the others, y'all can look at those. But yeah, just remember that there's a new 2-week candle starting Monday. So a lot of these have formed shooters, and even though they are green, if it continues and it goes down, those weekly PMGs can also, you see this 2-week shooters as well. Some of them are outside months. Like it's really a whole lot of nice setups out there. So yeah. And then XLE. Oh, while we're here, we can look at the 2-week. We got a hammer here on the 2-week. It's red, but it's really tight. So I really like that. 90.60 is your break. It's almost there. So that for your XLE move to the upside. Looking at it on the monthly, it's still inside month, so it's not doing anything there. And then on the week, you see the bull stepped in. We didn't finish the outside week. So a lot of times what I tell y'all, if it doesn't finish, it'll finish on the next time frame. So it may finish that, which would trigger that 2-week to go up. So yeah, the 2 down, green 2 down on the week could possibly trigger the 2-week to the upside. So, and it recovered this little downtrend that it was in. It broke out of. Kind of see that right there. Boomed. So it has a little gap to the upside on the day as well. That could go fill. And then it may want to take these folks out here. So yeah, keep an eye on XLE. Of course, I've been watching this because of CL. I watch a lot of the energy and oil stocks while playing them because it kind of moves the same way. So yeah. And then our cheap chip play, SOXL, kind of looks similar to everything else on the month. On the week, you got a inside week with the almost shooter, gravestone doji. But then you also have a PMG. So lots of stops to possibly take out. We rejected the 200 on the weekly. So it can at least come down to this 1365. Y'all know that SOXL is pretty cheap. So, and then you can kind of see how it just ran into a brick wall at this 200. It tried. It just kept getting smacked down. Lots of wicks here. And it only closed above it twice in this whole series, and then it dropped. So kind of in a critical place. Like it could for sure come back up here and try to test it. But for the most part, it looks like it wants to come on down, at least to this area right here. 1361, wasn't that the weekly? Yep. So yeah, SOXL drop a couple dollars possibly, or come back up and test this. But this is starting to look like a chop area as well, so could have just been ironing this area out. But that 200 resistance. And then so China is still in its correction mode. We got a shooter on the week, so it still may correct some more. I know specifically that Baba still has a gap to fill on the day. So I've been shorting it, and yeah, it looks like it's still in that mode. So still watching that. It's 200 on the week here, and on the day, same thing. So this has not quite filled its gap, FXI, so it could still come back down to this 29.56 possibly. And then it's possible this almost looks like a head right here, y'all. So that could be a head. This is an entire shoulder area. It wants to make a large head and shoulders if it does not continue the bullish trend, because now the time frame continuity is turning red. So it's bullish on me. I'm still bullish on it on the year. Well, on the quarter, as long as it stays above this 29.49. So, but that doesn't mean that in the meantime you can't short it to that 29.49. So, if it could even come down to this and then maybe recover from there. But if it doesn't, then I would stop being bullish on it for the quarter. It may have already done its move, but yeah, it filled this gap up here on the weekly. So that's why the corrective activity is expected. So you just have to kind of see what this does. So snow, was this a 2-weeker? Kind of, sort of. I mean, it's a gravestone doji, not quite a shooter, but close enough. And then an inside week. And then there's just some targets to take out here. So we've been watching snow. I feel like it was something else. Oh yeah, and then it rejected its 200 on the day, hard. And I mean, couldn't even come back up and test it. So this may be a head here. Looking to see what snow does. I think it's going to come down. So keep an eye on it. Consequently, it could also go up and break this to the upside. So we would look for it to break that 167 to come up to this 178. Otherwise, 154 is closer to breaking to the downside. So at least that 150. Possibly 134. That would be the 2-week, I'm pretty sure. Yep, the 134. So if it breaks that 150, it could be a 2-weeker to that 134. And you see it rejected, like how it has been. So, not PG, PEP. PEP was one that we were looking at because it had dropped and it was basing. And so it rallied. Wanted to see if what it was going to do, and that's exactly what it did. Now I want to see if it's going to continue this rally back up, or if this was just, you know, a breakout and then it could come back down right back into the shop area, but at least to fill this gap. So keep an eye on PEP. And it's kind of similar with PG, except it did not drop base rally. It dropped based and dropped. So we are now, I really like this because it's a 3-2 down on the month. I've been watching it since last month. Well, since Jamal mentioned the weekly PMG. Speaking of that, since we're talking about the weekly PMGs, right? So this was why he put that on our radar, was because it did this, right? So I've been watching it since he mentioned it, but I've been watching it for basically weeks, but I knew that it would take a while to do this. And as you can see, it's dropped its basing, and now hopefully it's going to continue to the downside. May take a few more weeks, but I'm expecting it to continue on. May even do this outside quarter. It's right at the outside trigger for the outside quarter, but if it does, that 122 is exactly the target right here. So it'll take out all of these and it will do an outside quarter. So yeah, it did its base. It was basing for the longest, y'all. It was getting on my nerves. It didn't want to break this 140 area, and then like 138-ish was like the next level to beat. So now it's kind of probably is going to do the same thing it did here. It may possibly base for a little while here. But hopefully what it's going to do is make that 140 now a resistance for the next leg down. So seeing PG to 122, y'all. And then target. I believe it was the 2-week. Yes. It is a 2-week on target. It filled a couple of gaps, short-term gaps that it had. So because it's boomed, I'm looking to see if it's going to possibly correct. I don't necessarily think it's going to correct this much for that 3-2 up. I mean 3-2 up, 2 down reversal, but it possibly could. I mean, you don't know that, but that's the strat signal. And then you have an inside week here. So if it breaks to the downside, of course 166 is the first support there, first strat target, and then this long wick. But yeah, I think it would possibly stop here about 154 first before it would continue another $10 if it does go to the downside. Otherwise, it's above its 200. That could be if the bulls decide to step in and take it back up into time frame continuity. You still got this whole mother bar is trying to slowly iron out. And if you look at it on the daily, it's right at the 200. Like right at it. So it's kind of that critical moment. This 8 is turning down now, so if it comes on back down, it may start to come on down. We played Target in the premium Discord on the way up and down last couple weeks, so we've been watching it. It's been pretty good, pretty good. So then a couple of other 2-weekers is Amazon. This is a nice red shooter. I pointed this out because it is also close to triggering the outside month at 92. So if it does, then we can target this 81.34, which, you know, I guess if it triggers this, the first target will be that 91.18, and then it would be the 81. So yeah, keep Amazon on your list. Of course, remember this is 2 week. This isn't even weekly, so this is, you need a minimum of 2 weeks, probably 3, even 4, just to give it time to do what you want to do. And then another one is Chewy. It's not a shooter, but it's gravestone, so close enough. And this, I'm gonna show y'all in a second. It says a weekly PMG, so looking to see if this is going to take those out and start coming down. Like maybe do this move. We got a red inside week here, so. And then, of course, I will post this in the study time chat, the monthly list. These are the 50% monthly. Most of them are to the downside, but I did want to point out PSX is to the upside, I believe. WBA, no. I think PSX is the only one. The rest of them are all, oh, and PEP. So I was talking about PEP, how it based and then rallied. It rallied, but it also triggered the outside bar. I kind of forgot to mention that. But I really like PSX also because on this 2 week, it's kind of red hammer. But if it goes, the hammer goes in force, then that can trigger that. Will help it continue the outside month. So yeah, I'll post that in there. And then these, if you get a chance, go ahead and like screenshot that or something. But these are like some 2 week setups that I found. Most of them are shooters, a couple of hammers. I'm not going to go through all of them though. So, yep. That's all I have for today.
As long as everybody else can hear me too as well. Yeah, I was saying Airbnb kind of took out this quarter high from last quarter. Came back in. So I was really watching, what is this? This is around like 119. I was looking for it to come back in anyway. Let me go down to the, I don't really trade off higher time frames, but really, I was watching Airbnb because it's been chopping around like the past couple days since like last week, chopping around, chopping around, chopping around. And I was looking to see if it was gonna break 120 so that we could get into calls, or it was gonna break this choppiness and come down for puts. So once it broke here, that's when, I was like, okay, I'm gonna enter puts, and I put it in the Discord. But I kind of missed this beginning of the breakdown out of the chat box. Let me see in a 30-minute. Yeah, so these levels, I've been trying to apply what Jay has told us about supply and demand. I don't know if it's right or not, but it's been really helpful this past week in terms of trying to find plays and learning to execute, and also sit in plays as well and not get shaken out. So since I already missed this entry here, I got in the following day immediately at open and just sat in it until it got about right here, and I put my stop in, and then I got stopped out. But this is one of the plays that went like 400%. But had you got in here like before market close, I think it goes a little bit more, like maybe like 600 or something like that. Also, What else did we? Let me see. Oh, we worked on Google from like Monday, and I really thought that it was gonna break down from here. So here I thought like, okay, it's good to like get puts here, and it was gonna continue down this way. But we had that little rally when the market ran up. I think after Powell spoke or something like that, or whatever event that was going on that day. It ran up, and so when it ran up here, I was questioning if maybe it was a double top. So I was asking Lala because she's pattern expert. Is it a double top? Because I'm not good with patterns or anything like that. Let me see. So like I was watching this level over here with this, like to see if it would come back in. And so we did two up, two down on the day, the following day. And so a couple of people got in here, but I still missed it because I was at work. And then once all of this started to like break down and like consolidate and then continue to drop, this whole move from here all the way down here was like a 400% play. Like the contracts were like I think like 16, between 16 and $25, and it ran all the way to $1,000. Like this whole move here. Some people caught the end of it. Some people caught the beginning, but it was extremely dope. And these levels that I started to add was from what Jay has taught us. So yeah, pretty much it. Let me see what else. What I'm watching for next week as well. Lala probably already went over some of them. I was looking at Amazon. I was looking at Chewy. What else? Let me see. I didn't update this chart, but I'm looking at QCOM. There's a whole lot going on. But it does have a gap to fill, like a little gap to fill here. But yeah, I'll update that chart and post it. It's not. Or it could go back up to. It could go back. If the market rallies on Monday, it'll probably go back up and like retest this area here. But we got to see what it does. Oh, so I'm watching Crowd for next week actually. This Crowd Strike. So we had the two up, two down on the week. On the month, we're still green on the month, but like barely. Still a two up green, but it's coming back in a little bit. On the quarter, still green on the quarter. And on the year as well. So it's kind of for me like in a little bit of a broadened formation. So I'm looking to see if we're gonna bounce here from this area here and retest 114. I'm kind of like a little bit bullish on it, but I just have to see how the market opens up and what it does. But again, these lines is from, I guess, supply and demand and support and resistance. So if the market rallies, I'm expecting it to at least hit or get close to 114, and if not, continue down to this last year low, if possible, next week. Yeah, that's all I got for in terms of plays next week that I'm watching. It's basically just Crowd, Amazon, and actually Chewy as well. That was on my list. Lala already went over that, so but
Love it. And I see the where you put your at the 114. Like I see it in terms of how Jay has taught us where it may retest that um if it goes to the upside. So yep, I definitely understand it. He's sort of training me to see the eye. It's taking a while, but I'm getting it.
and we have an inside, so we got an inside candle on a 4 hour. So we do 212 back up or 212 down, and pretty much continue to take out all this down here. So it might be a good play for Monday, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take profit on Monday. Don't swing it. And you wait and see. I wouldn't swing it. Just take your profit.
Ashley said, can you look at Meta and Nvidia? I know Meta also I believe has a PMG on the week. I think that was on my weekly PMG. I'm not looking because I'm watching your screen, but I think it has several. Oh, and also, Meta is one that Jay talked about. I think was it Thursday he posted? Um, that's coming down. Like it's coming down. And it may take some time because a lot of times you notice like if Jay posts something, it'd be like 3 weeks later he'd be like, yeah, so I posted that chart and it hit the target, but
I
it took
told
some
you so.
time. But yeah, I don't know if Jay could even speak since we have it up here and since you did post about it. Are you able to come and talk now? Usually he's not, but I thought I would throw it out there. You available, Jay? Probably not. But yeah, looking at it, it has several targets to take out to the downside. We got that WTP.
And it's ran so much too. So it will have to. This is the weekly. Next target probably like somewhere like 200 or something. Like so.
And after it's ran that much, and then it has a gap on the day, right? And the gap way up.
Um, yeah, way up there. It look like it's running out of steam though. Yep, up here. Should your little box here. But around like 250, 249. But it looked like when it come down a little bit since it's ran up so much.
Right.
Hey guys, I'm
Hey.
actually driving, but I'm listening. But do not have my charts in front of me, obviously. From what I can remember, if you look at the daily chart, that wick that that ran up, basically what's going to happen is they're going to take back all that wick. So you're looking anywhere from where current price is. You can wait for a retest, and just have your targets going to one. I think it's 155 or 150. I remember
Mm-hmm.
quite well, but
That's the
I'm not
gap
in front of the
fill.
chart, so don't quote me on that. Um, but yeah, I'm probably later on. I might be around my charts. I might just share my screen if anyone is around once I get back around my charts because they usually do markup on the weekends. But I'm driving now. But probably later on, I'll just have my charts up there. If anybody wanna, if later allows me to, I'll just share my screen. If
Oh, please.
anyone wanna chime in, it might be later on, 9, 10 o'clock. That's usually when I work, when I'm in quiet and just peace.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be 9, 10, 11 o'clock around that time. That's when usually I'm on my charts, just setting up for the week. But yeah, if anyone wants to join, I'll be probably around on my charts around that time.
Sounds good. You could just hop in here and share. You can always start it. You don't
Okay.
even need me for that. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay, will do. I'll send you a message if I have to.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Bye. But yeah, y'all, we like meta. We like meta to the downside. It needs to correct.
And I think we had cold calls on it like 2 weeks ago or something like that. Of course we missed it. Well, I missed it. as usual. But yeah, I think from like last week we were watching for calls and it just boomed.
Hmm.
But yeah, just look some correction to me honestly. And whenever there's an inside week, it's best to wait to see what happens and not just assume it's going to continue up or continue down. Just wait to see what price action does before you jump in. Because it could trigger the two down and come back in and then go three or something like that. So just something to be mindful of.
Threes
As
often happen after inside bars as well. So yeah, watching meta, it's gonna need some time, but yeah, definitely looking for at least to fill that gap. And that was his target, I believe, at 151.67. And I think that it's like the same thing with Nvidia. Like it's also Brittany called calls on that weeks ago, before it even really broke out. So that was like a nice play for weeks. But yeah, it's time for it to correct.
me and had a back and forth about it, but I love Brit. She makes me a better trader. It's like, damn, she's right again.
Right. Like don't go against me. Be cussing you out too.
Let me see. Well, I call puts on um, because of these levels that I put up. But we were really watching. We really thought it was gonna keep going, honestly.
Hmm.
But once we saw that it was like kind of running out of steam, and once it came back in under this 221, played puts on it, and then took profit. Cause like it want to come back up too. MACD is kind of crossing back up. That's why I say be careful on Monday. I just have a feeling that we might just run. I don't know. I just have a feeling. So
That shooter on
I probably
X.
won't trade until like Wednesday because
Did anyone actually catch that Disney play? Any puts on Disney?
yeah.
Yes, Matt caught it. Matt caught the Disney play. I believe.
Okay.
He's not here. He's probably at work, but yeah, I remember he was surprised it was still falling. But that was actually a great play. And I think
Yeah,
it's
usually when you
yeah.
get earnings and you get something that close, it's just like I said the day before, it was just gonna run into supply and die from there. Just, just usually what happens. Um, when you're sitting that close to supply, they're just gonna drive in there and then get all the call buyers to be bag holders. Basically, that's that. But there's gonna be some volatility coming up next week because basically for this year I'm expecting stuff to go sideways to probably down. But I'll probably explain that another time. Um, but there's gonna be some volatility because we're actually building a box right now on the futures, and even though I'm giving these plays in stock, keep in mind I'm not trading them. I don't really trade stock. Uh, I've gotten to the point where I'm lazy, where I just don't want to keep looking at a whole bunch of different stuff and figure out. So, gold, oil, S&P, Dow, and Nasdaq. That's where you'll find me. But I mean, for me, a chart is a chart. So usually I just post that stuff. So I'm not really a stock trader anymore. But if I see good plays like for Disney, that was just a regular setup. That was just obvious. But I still post as much as I can as far as stocks go. But if you don't see me posting much, it's just because I don't pay attention. Because that's one of the things that got me out of trading stock. There was just too much to keep looking at every day, and
Hmm.
I got too much going on. So I just wanted to keep it, five or four assets. Which futures is just, get up and the futures are trading. It's easy to just go to the charts, but I'll still try to post more about some stuff.
Well, we appreciate that for sure. That definitely was a great call.
Yeah. And the more you start, learning about supply and demand and everything like that, it's easier for you to start to see and understand it. But like with everything, it's a learning process. And when you combine it with whatever strategy that you like to use, I mean, a lot like to use the strat, it's really helpful. And sometimes you find confluence, and the more confluence you have, the more successful your trade might be. And that's what we're looking for. So when things just start to line up, um, we have weeks like we had this week where we was just, I think we hit on everything almost, honestly. And we're just gonna try and repeat that next week. But it's just something to kind of add on to whatever strategy that you like to use. I think it's really, really helpful. The more that we dive into it, everything becomes more and more clear. And then you learn too when not to trade, or or just wait and be patient. So, and that's an important thing when it comes to trading, is learning to be patient and learning when to sit in the pocket as well, like sit through the volatility, because the move is the move. So, but
Yeah.
anything in particular you guys wanted to see about, well, Disney, anything like that? It did run into supply.
Can you look at it on the week for me,
On
please?
the
Because
week.
I believe I was thinking that it may still come down. It was either the week or the day.
It's a
Because
shooter.
I think that's what it was. Nice shooter on the week.
Oh, and a bunch of twos. I
Yep.
noticed. You got a clear chart up.
Because it's ran so much, so and then because it came into that supply, it may I think we was just looking at it, was a outside day, so it could either 3-2 down to show the Bears are still in control, 3-1-2 down. But I think that it's not done yet. That was a good play on after its earnings, but it
Mm,
probably had its earnings run, so it's probably can still keep coming down. And at least
right.
to that, what is that, 102.30? That's the 200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least to the 200 before you get like a little bounce.
Oh, it did 3-2 down, so it'd be 3-2-2.
Hmm.
I don't like 3-2-2s. I think, is it on the 4 hour? Maybe it's a better trigger. Maybe it's an inside 4 hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can kind of, that's
Yeah.
nice. Those EMA's about to cross too. So yeah, Disney looked like it can still come down some more.
And everything is red. Full time frame constantly is red.
Yeah.
Even on the 4 hour, it's a little pink. But yeah, I like Disney. It's on my watch list actually.
Hmm. Yep.
Any other stocks anybody want to look at?
Yes. Anything y'all want us to look at? If you don't want to unmute, you could put it in the study time chat. Let me go check real quick. Nope. It don't look like any questions y'all have. Well, y'all got us. Especially since y'all got Kiki, because y'all know that, she only here every other week. You can share her screen and talk. So, but if not,
Let
hmm?
me see. We already went over Amazon, but let me see how I have it charted. I gotta
There's
update
your
this too.
shows.
Yeah.
I can't unsee them. Those head and shoulders right there.
I really hope this goes to like 91. That's what I'm looking at, but I have to like rechart it. I haven't got an inside candle here. 91 is here.
Mm-hmm. Nice rejection there.
Yeah. It might do like a little retest and then come back down, but we gotta see. Sounding like the 30-minute a lot as well. On the day, 2-2 continuation. Well, barely a 2. It's like a doji, so. It
Okay,
could
shift.
bounce and just go like that too. But we gotta see.
Yeah, definitely could. It's got a little base there.
Mm-hmm.
You got a three. It could 3-2-2 down as well on that rejection.
Alright. Yeah, I would just wait and see if it could get above. I wouldn't jump in a trade initially. I'll just wait to see if it tries to break above and gets above it. This 20 EMA, and then I will play calls maybe, or just wait to see if it rejects and then buy puts for it to come back down. Um,
See, I like when you do this because I'm usually looking on the larger time frame. So when you come down to
I
the
don't look at the larger time frame to be honest. Like,
I know, but that's why I'm saying it helps, like for some other folks because they're able to see it on the 1 hour and kind of what you see versus me just looking at the day. Because I only go down to the day when I'm showing the charts on here.
yeah, when you say it's a PMG on the week, I'm like, what? I didn't even look. But it's something to be mindful of. So
Speaking
to
of
up
that,
week.
I did look at Apple, but can you look at Apple?
Sure.
How you look at Apple? Because like I was just saying, we look at them a little different, and we know that there's a PMG on the week, but like maybe
Take all this off because this is when I ask Lala a question. This is not important. You don't need that. But so we had an inside week, which I'm pretty happy about because I just wanted it to base and like stay inside because I think Apple's gonna make a really nice move next week. But let's start off at the on the yearly. So we're still green on the year, which is good. Oh, before we do this, I think it was something on Airbnb for the outside month. It hasn't yet triggered, but I want you guys to be mindful that it could just continue to fall. So that's what I was really looking at was to see if it could do a three in a month. It's kind of far down, but you never know with the market. You can never say something can't happen. So like we said, inside a week on the day, um, we're kind of like basing a little bit, kind of like trading in a range. Honestly, it's kind of I would draw like a box here. 'Cause we're
Jay
trading
just
in a.
said that. He literally just said that we were trading in a box.
Oh, he did.
He
That went
really
over my
did.
head.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so we're in the box. I probably wouldn't even touch it until like it makes an aggressive move in either direction. Um, so so I like to trade off the 4 hour. We got the 2-1 on the 4 hour as well. So we reject here next week. I'm looking forward to test that 147 level, then probably then go back up or continue to fall down to test this 200. Normally, price action bounces at the 200. Most of the time on the 4 hour, it does. So that's just something to be mindful of. And as an area to just take profit and just wait and see. Um, but this is my price target if it continues to fall. But if we bounce, again, we're still in this range too. So, we want to trade the range and take profit until you see that we kind of like breaking out above like this 155 level because 155 seems to be like a magnet for Apple. Like it just keeps going to 155 all the time. And I don't understand, but yeah. It's kind of frustrating, but yeah. But I will only trade. I will trade the range or wait till it breaks above 155 to get calls. But I just really hope Apple falls. That's just me. But in the range and on the 1 hour, it's basically like I said sideways and in this kind of mother bar too. So if anybody wants to trade Apple next week, just be mindful like this 155, this 150 level and this 155. It's in between there. And you want to wait for it to break with volume down this way or break above with volume this way. And if it continues to trade sideways, don't trade it. I mean, to avoid the stress. But be mindful, it's in what we call a mother bar. So I think that means don't trade it, but you know, do as you please. 30 minute. Nothing's nothing really sideways. Yeah, but we are watching Apple for next week. Full time frame. It's green, but the week was red. So
So all that data next week may make a move
push it. Yeah.
if it does anything. Pretty sure it will though.
Oh, that's what it was. I think I was mentioning to you. Let me see if I can see it here. Anytime like Apple is in like this range over here, it either has like a crazy drop or it just takes off. Like it runs up into like this 170 level as well. So I'm kind of cautious as well because I don't want to get caught holding puts and then it
Oh, I
does what
see.
it does. So chop area and goes up this way. So that's
I
just
see
something to be
exactly
mindful of.
the times where it's dropped from there before.
Yeah, that's what I was showing you. So you got, let me see. Yeah, so these are the times that it has run up from like this low up, and then it comes back down, chops around, comes down. So it's kind of like a pattern that it has. Let me see, what's this? 140, 147. Yep. So it's chopping around like that 147 area, and then it makes a move. And it comes back, chops around, then makes a move up or down. So, again, kind of choppy here more recently, and then it came down. But again, more chop here. Hopefully, it goes this way, but just in case, I'm targeting like 168 if it wants to run.
Mm-hmm.
And you got that quarter high too that might be actually tested it, then came back in. So we might look for another retest and then tank or retest and then push through. So just keep that in mind about this quarter high.
That 157.50. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it rejected hard from that, like hard when it hit it. So yeah, and it's been weeks since then, honestly. So it's been actually on that. You're on the 4 hour. It's made lower highs since then. So
Mm,
looking like the bulls running out of steam to me. They'd have to step in like with like that candle, like that three back there, and like
yeah.
really push, in my opinion, because the strength in that is just waning, you know. So, of course, the last time it touched that, it gapped up and then ran. So, it would have to probably do
Well,
that, in my opinion, to keep this bullish momentum going. But yeah, all right. You're welcome, Felicia.